Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be watching from, and welcome to AMN Healthcare International's live show, Onwards and Upwards, where we discuss everything a global healthcare worker needs to know about living and working in the United States. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Danielle Friedman, and so happy to be here with you this morning, coming to you live from sunny San Diego, California. Please let me know where you're watching from in the chat. I love to see where our viewers are watching from. I see some hellos. Hello, Anika. Hello, Annie. Thank you both for joining us today. And if you are just tuning in, we are AMN Healthcare International. We are the largest staffing company to offer both international direct hire and international staffing placements all across the United States. So, look, we have some people joining from Saudi. We have Annie from Nigeria. Thank you all for being with us today. We have a very exciting show. We have a really great expert group of guests today. We are going to be talking all about why nursing is a good career choice in the United States. We know that you have got lots of choices when you are deciding where you want to become a nurse and where you want your journey to go. There's lots of different countries. So we are going to be hearing from 4 nurses. They are going to be sharing their journeys to come to the United States, their trials, their tribulations, why they ultimately decided to come to the USA. They're going to be talking about RN career growth and salaries, lifestyle and work-life balance, and future career outlook and advice. So we have got a lot to cover today, and I am very excited. Before we get started, I wanted to roll out our new referral program. You may have heard little tidbits about this around, and we have an exciting referral program that we wanted to announce to everybody. Refer a nurse and earn $1,000. So this is through our international staffing arm. If you know a nurse who is interested in coming to the United States as an international staffing nurse, you could earn $1,000, and there is no limit to that. So that is very exciting. A couple of key points to note. These nurses must either be citizens of Canada or Mexico, so they are eligible for the TN visa, or they must have an EB3 priority date from October 2023 or prior. So if you are interested, we're going to drop the link in the chat. You can register. You will have a personal link, and that link you can send out to your family, your friends, anybody who you think might be interested in this program, and you can start earning those dollars. All right, without further ado, let's bring out our nurses. Good morning, Shiva Gani. Good morning, Carney. Good morning, Stella. Good morning, UK. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Thanks, and you?
Good. It sounds like everybody's doing good today, so we are happy about that. Thank you all for taking some time to be on today's show. We are so excited to have you and hear a little bit more about your journey. You know, I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and I've talked to a lot of nurses who have taken journeys throughout many parts of the world. Maybe they've started in one country, they've stopped in another before coming to the United States, but ultimately they were all super happy that they came to the US, they reached their American dream, and you are all here today to share your stories. So we are very excited to learn how you all ended up coming here. So let's take a moment and just give a couple of introductions. We'd love to hear a little bit more about you, about your family, where you're coming from, and where you're currently located. So Stella, let's start with you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm Stella. I'm currently on a staff job in the Bay Area in Northern California. I came in 2019, started my international nursing in North Carolina, hospital called Cape Fear Valley Hospital. And then traveled after that, did travel nursing until just recently when I settled in Northern California.
Okay, very nice. And Stella, where did I miss this? Where are you coming from?
Oh, sorry. I'm originally from Kenya.
Okay, yes. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Let's go with Corny next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So yeah, I'm Corny.
I'm currently located at Fredericksburg, Virginia. Background on myself, I have been an ICU nurse since I'm graduated from nursing school in Malaysia. And then my family and I moved to Abu Dhabi, um, I guess for a better pay and also experience. And I gained most of my ICU specialty while working there. And now I'm here at Virginia working for OGP contract for Mary Washington Hospital.
Okay, thank you, Corny. Well, I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your journey. Sounds like you had a stopover in Abu Dhabi before coming to the US. So I'm excited to hear what made you journey to the US. Let's go with Shiva Gani next.
Good morning. I'm Shivangani. I'm currently from South Africa, Johannesburg. My current location. I'm currently located at Georgia, Roswell. I'm working in a hospital called North Fulton. I'm working in IMCU department. So I started my career in USA in 2023 in July, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this, Shivagani.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry if I'm I want to make sure I'm saying it right. I'm also from South Africa, so I love to have a fellow South African on and hear a little bit more about your journey. I know it's a long journey for a lot of you as well to come to the United States. It takes a lot to bring your families here, to travel here. It's a whole different way of life. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your journey and how it's been since you came. So thank you for sharing. And last but certainly not least, let's have Yuvakai.
Hello, everyone. This is Yokai. I am from Zimbabwe. I came here last year and I've been a nurse back home for 6 years. And currently I'm on an OGP contract in Fredericksburg, Virginia, Mary Washington Hospital. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing, Yukai. We are excited to have you on and hear a little bit more about your journey. So I think let's start with Corny. What inspired you to become a nurse, and how did that lead you to coming to the United States?
For me, I guess it's not inspiration to be a nurse, but at that time, rather a choice to make on what type of study or career that I can take upon, out of high school, which is not going to be a financially burden for my family. So in Malaysia at that time, nursing training offered through mostly healthcare organization sponsorship, and then we need to be bonded after graduation. And for me, I mean, the advantage of that is that you know that throughout your training, everything, the fees and all things like that, I don't have to be worried about that. But of course, we need to be bonded with a company before we can choose where we want to work after that. And what lead me working in the USA, after working in Abu Dhabi for a number of years, me and my family are ready for an exchange, and I guess USA will have more opportunity to us in terms of that.
Okay, that makes sense. I hear from a lot of nurses who are working abroad that they want new opportunities. They're looking for, that golden pathway when they're looking at the United States. So it sounds like you were looking for something similar for you. What about you, Rani? I know in South Africa, it's also, as all the other countries are as well, a very beautiful country. I'm thinking back to when I was on the beach in Cape Town. It's a beautiful place. What made you choose to come to the United States, and how did your nursing journey lead you here?
So, being a nurse in South Africa, I thoroughly enjoyed my career. I enjoyed practicing with the patient, but I felt I needed a little more. I wanted to explore other countries. And then when I went to the network, I found that USA has a large variety of opportunities in the nursing career. So that motivated me to come to USA. So it allows you to travel with your family. They allow you to come to USA with your family. So that also motivated me on part of my journey. Another thing that motivated me as a nurse is that I grew up in an environment where, in a small environment where our community struggled a lot. So, and healthcare was a shortage in our environment. So that encouraged me to become a nurse.
That makes sense. So it sounds like it was something that you came into because it was something that was needed. And then when you were looking for other opportunities, you really took into account your family. You wanted to be able to bring everybody. So that makes sense. Thank you for sharing, Shivagani. I see we have a question in the chat from Alokutang, is asking, is AMN a staffing company or an agency? So we are actually an agency that offers both staffing and direct hire. So to answer your question, we have both. We have options all across the United States. And if you are interested in coming to the United States, you can apply on our website. That's amnhealthcare.com/international. We're going to drop the link in the chat. And if anybody else has any questions as they pop up, we have an amazing group of guests today who have a wealth of knowledge. Please feel free to ask your questions. We would love to take your questions live. Okay, so let's go to Stella. So Stella, when you were deciding where to work, you know, there's a lot of options. You can go, as Corny went to Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of nurses who go to the UK. There's a lot of nurses that go to Australia, Germany, a lot of high-paying countries that may be higher than where you're coming from. But ultimately, you ended up coming to the United States. What made you choose coming to the United States?
So actually, I wanted to first go to UK, but I had friends of mine who had gone to UK to practice as RNs, and they did not recommend UK because I had even done the IELTS and passed with a high score in IELTS, because UK needs higher IELTS score than US. So ultimately, I just decided, and a few friends of mine had come to US. They kept recommending coming to US. I just needed I had exhausted all my opportunities in Kenya and just needed to broaden my nest in terms of career growth, stability for my family, and just needed to increase my professional advancement. So I ultimately just decided to come to US instead of going to UK because that was my other option.
Okay. So you felt that it was going to be a better option for you professionally and maybe better for your family? Is that what
Yes.
you're saying? Okay. And I see a little head there, and I hear a little cooing. Oh, how cute.
Yeah.
What is her name?
She's Gabriella. She's
Gabriella?
4.5 months old. Yes.
Oh my goodness. And so she must be born in the United States.
She is born in the United States.
Wow, an American citizen. Look at that, coming full circle. Hi, Gabriella. We're happy to have you on today also. Okay, so thank you for sharing, Stella. I think that makes a lot of sense when you're considering your other options and you're thinking about other countries and where may be a good fit for you, for your family. There are a lot of factors to consider for a lot of nurses. So let's talk about some facts about nursing in the United States. So I wanted to look up, why do so many nurses come to the United States? Why is it such a high profession? Why is there, we're in retrogression, which we're not going to get into today on this show. But there is such high demand, essentially, which is what retrogression is. And let's talk a little bit about some nursing facts. So we have some graphics we're going to pull up with some interesting facts that I learned. So nursing is the nation's largest healthcare profession. So I thought that was very interesting. There are 4.7 million RNs nationwide. 55% of RNs work in hospitals. And as of 2022, 71% of the RN workforce holds a baccalaureate or higher. So it's a very well-regarded profession in the United States. Definitely a profession that's very looked up to. There's a lot of opportunities in. And I'm excited to get into that a little bit more as we continue. So I'd love to turn to what was the process like to move from your home country to the United States to become a nurse?
Can you come again?
What was it like to move from your home country to become a nurse? What was the process like?
Okay. For an international nurse, moving here involves a multi-step process that include like credential evaluation. And I think by then we were dealing with CGFNS, and they would ask for a transcript, verification processings. Then after that, I had to go over the English proficiency exam. Since my country is not an English-speaking country, so I had to sit for the English examination. Then after that, I had to get the assistance of O'Grady Payton in doing the license exam, which is the NCLEX, and you need about like 5 to 6 months preparation before you sit for the final examination. So in my case, I had to take the exam in a different country because my country didn't have like a center for the NCLEX, so I had to travel to South Africa in Johannesburg to take the exam. And by then, O'Grady Payton was covering the examination fee. It was covering the flight cost, the hotel cost back and from. And after that, they had to secure the visa certificate for me, the visa screening certificate for me, then do the visa application, which is the EB3 immigrant visa green card designed for the skilled workers, and also them securing a job for me. And it was more easier and smooth going since it was like a recruiting agency, which helped me navigate all these complex requirements. And I think the entire process took me for like 2 years because I started in 2022 and only got here last year in May.
Wow, sounds like quite the journey to get here.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of steps, a lot of time.
Yes.
So what made you choose AMN to support you on that journey?
Well, I didn't have AMN in mind, but it came as a referral from my boss, who was also in here late stages of completing the American process, and luckily she was doing with OGP. So because based on her testimonies and of course the recruiting information which I have found online after she introduced me to OGP, its long-standing expertise in international staffing fields, its reliability, good reputation, and immigration assistance, I had to go for AMN.
Okay, thank you, Yukai. Well, I think that's the best way to end up coming is when you get a referral from somebody else that you know that you can trust. I could see you kind of nodding your head, so I think you agree. I also did want to note two things. If you are following along and you are asking questions in the chat, I saw we had a question from Alku Tang, our Senior Director of Recruitment. Shout out to Deirdre, is following along and is taking your questions in the chat. So if you have any questions at all, she is answering them live. And she's a great person to answer all the questions. She's got a wealth of knowledge. So please feel free to ask your questions. I also did just want to note for anybody who's watching along and might be feeling a little bit confused. So AMN has both kinetics and OGP. So OGP is the international staffing part of AMN, and kinetics is the international direct hire part of AMN. So just wanted to clarify because I saw a couple of questions in the chat and I know it can be a little bit confusing, but ultimately we are the company that has the largest options under both international direct hire and international staffing. So if you are interested, you can apply on our website and our link is in the chat. Okay, so let's turn back to these lovely ladies. So Corny, I'd love to hear from you. Why did you choose AMN to support your journey? I know you had a stopover in Abu Dhabi. What ultimately made your decision to come to the US with AMN?
At that time, I have a lot of my colleagues who work in the same ICU at Abu Dhabi, and they're kind of like most of them having sorry, application to come over to the US, and most of them are going through OGP. So it's kind of like very easy for me because I'm seeing them going through the process, and I know that is most reliable company to go with. And I, of course, I do research about AMN at the same time, which OGP, which is I'm going for. Um, yeah, so I decided to go with OGP because I know their process is more streamlined. Not to say easy, but I mean streamlined. I mean, you're gonna have support throughout the process. So and also there's a lot of guidance, a lot of touch base with people at the agency throughout the process itself.
That makes sense. I love that you shared that, Corny. You know, I think that's something that's really important to take into account because when you're coming to a new country, it's very scary, especially if you're bringing kids, if you're bringing a spouse, and to know that you will have support throughout your whole journey as you do with OGP, the international staffing arm, is probably very comforting. So thank you for sharing that. So Stella, I'd love to hear from you. Why did you choose AMN to come to your journey to the United States?
So a lot of my friends were at the time processing with either Avant or AMN. At the time it was just OGP. And some of my friends who were processing with Avant and others were processing with OGP. The people from OGP just kept having like, oops, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, my friends who processed with OGP just had very positive experiences. Like, and what stood out the most for me with AMN was the transparency and the support that the OGP offered throughout the process, because they paid for NCLEX, they paid for the travel to go to India to do the NCLEX exam, and they paid for my whole relocation here in United States. So I felt like it was just not a recruitment. They guided me through the relocation, the licensing, adjusting to life in US, and just the confidence that I had coming in here is just what made me pick AMN over the agency like Avant, which was just their competitor.
I love that you said that word, Stella. You know,
Yes.
I think it's very scary to imagine coming to a new country, especially the United States. It can be very overwhelming. I moved here, 20 years ago when I was young, so I can relate. I understand that feeling of you don't know what you're getting into. So to have somebody behind you that you feel you can make you feel confident, that I'm sure meant all the world to you. So thank you for sharing that. Shivani, can you share why you decided to come to the United States with AMN?
Okay. So I remember as I was working in the ICU one day, I saw a group of nurses studying. So I was like skeptical what they're studying. And then they told me they're studying for the NCLEX. And then that made me inquire more. And then I went into the system myself and I Googled and I saw that the reviews on OGP was very high. So that made me go and apply with OGP. And they supported me through the entire process. They helped me from the time I started the application. They helped me with study material for the NCLEX exam. They assisted me with visa screening. They assisted me with the process of applying for my transcript. So they made my process very easy and a very smooth process. So therefore, I went with the O-grading agent and AMN Health.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I loved seeing that video of your whole family at the airport waving you off. That was really, really beautiful to see. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for sharing your experience. So I would love to turn to a little quiz that we have for everybody. We have a little bit of fun to be had. We took some facts about RNs, and we are going to be asking the questions. You can put your answers in the chat, and my expert group of gals, I'm going to be asking all of you what you think the right answer is. So, what is the median age of RNs in the United States? Is it A, 24 years old, B, 60 years old, C, 31 years old, or D, 46 years old? Ladies, anybody have any guesses what the median age is? I see some curious faces. So I see we have Annie is guessing 24 in the chat. It is actually, let's see. Oh, we have Jason guessing it's B. The correct answer is actually D, 46 years old. So that is the median age. So that's something that is good to keep in mind. You know, I get a lot of questions when we're doing these shows about, is there any age restrictions? What is the best age to end up moving here? What if I have a family? These are things that I want to consider. And I think that answer just goes to show that age should not necessarily be a factor. You can come later in your career, and that just means that you have experience. And that just means that when you arrive, maybe you have more confidence. So that was our first question. Let's bring our second question up. What is our second quiz question? How many new nursing jobs does the U.S. government predict will open each year by 2034? Is it A, 50,000, B, 100,000, C, 189,000, or D, 250,000? Any guesses? I see everybody's answering the past question. Let's see. Any guesses from our audience? Ladies, any guesses from our expert panel on what is the number of new jobs that are going to be opening each year by 2034? What do we think? Okay, so I see somebody is guessing C, 189,000. Aneka, Oliowola, you are both correct. Let's see. Ding, ding, ding. What is the correct answer? 189,000 jobs are going to be added by 2034 each year. So that is a lot of jobs. As you can see, the demand is still very, very strong for nurses, which is why we are all here today and why you are all here in the United States. And I think, do we have one more question that we'd love to share with our audience? That's fun. I see everybody is putting their answers in the chat. Okay, our last question. Which setting employs the largest percentage of RNs in the United States? Is it A, nursing care facilities, B, hospitals, C, physician offices, or D, government? So what do we all think? Based on where most of you, I think actually all of you are working today, hopefully we can all get this one right. What do we think? I see Annie and Prudent guessing hospitals. That is correct. It is hospitals. And then I see some questions about the age limit. We have another graphic that I wanted to pull, which shows the age of the nursing workforce over time. So I know it's a bit hard to see. It's very small, but really the biggest thing that I took away after looking at this, if you see this sort of light blue color at the end, about 20% of the workforce is over 60. So that's a very large percentage that's going to be retiring in the next few years, and which is another reason why there is such a high demand for nurses in the United States. There are simply just not enough nurses. There are not enough new grads to fill those positions, which is why we look to international nurses and why it is so important to us in the United States to have international nurses to fill these gaps where they're coming. And as you can see, there are nurses in every range. You can see there are nurses in every group. So if you are following along and thinking, is my age going to be a factor? Not necessarily. You know, it could really play in your favor. More experience, more knowledge. So please don't let that be something that would keep you from coming to the United States and reaching your dream. So I want to talk a little bit more about career growth and opportunity in the United States. You've all mentioned in some form or another that you wanted to come to the United States for better opportunities, for career growth, more for your family, more for yourselves as RNs. So Corny, let's start with you. How has your salary, benefits, overall career stability improved as a nurse in the United States?
I must say that, I'll look into it into more as a whole itself because I used to work in Abu Dhabi, so it kind of like give me a different perspective in a way of answering that question actually. As of now, I'm seeing that, in United States, nurses are really compensated for what they're doing. Like, where I used to work, you can work, stay late up to 9, but you're not going to get compensated for that. But here, if you need to stay late because, you have charting to do or things that clinical commitment that you have to stay back to complete them because otherwise, it will be a non-compliance. You will be compensated for that. So that is really something that I see a good practice here in the United States itself. Overall, I must say that we get a lot of other things like insurance coverage, and whether or not you want to contribute to your retirement, that is completely a choice to make as well. But ultimately, it's a choice to make. That's what I want to say. Like you don't have to like stick with one way of doing things, but you can really choose what you want to do with your financial benefit and all of these other things.
So it sounds like you have a little bit more flexibility in your work. Yeah, I can see you shaking your head like this. That's great. And you're also compensated for the work that you're doing where maybe you weren't where you were before. Okay, that makes sense. I'm sure that's a very good feeling. In the United States, it's all about fairness. And there are a lot of employment laws that protect nurses to make sure that they are fairly compensated. So that makes a lot of sense that you shared that, Courtney. So I actually wanted to see how the salaries compare in some of the other countries that we've talked about where international nurses may go. We talked about the UK, we talked about the Middle East. And I wanted to understand, why do international nurses really look at the United States as sort of like this golden ticket? It's the American dream. Why is it that so many nurses want to come to the United States? And I don't think salary is everything. I don't think that's the only reason. I see some of you shaking your heads in agreement. I know our audience can't see, but I can see our experts are shaking their heads in agreement. It's not necessarily salary, but I think the salary certainly doesn't help, especially when you're looking at opportunities for yourself and your family. And so what we decided to do was look at the comparison of an average RN salary in the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and Germany to see what the numbers really were. And as you can see, the United States is far higher in terms of an average salary. And again, this is an average. So as you go through your career, and career growth is an important part of that salary only can go upwards. So I think the numbers speak for themselves as to why a lot of nurses around the world look to the US as an opportunity to really not only better their lives, but also better their lives of their families. So I just thought that was interesting to see that number. So let's turn to Yukai. What opportunities have you discovered as an RN in the US? Can you maybe talk a little bit more about what career growth has looked like or what it could look like for you?
Okay, so based on the current trends, new opportunities for RNs in the United States are emerging in non-traditional settings, specialty roles, or even tech integrated roles. So there are technology-driven opportunities like telehealth, nursing, also informatics nursing, which is AI. Then for nurses seeking leverage their expertise outside direct patient care, they can do nursing leadership, like also consulting, like engaging with legal nursing consulting in law firms, or also owning your own healthcare related business. You can be a nursing educator, then also other emerging specializations like behavioral and mental health nursing, aesthetic nursing. You can do home health. you can do correctional and forensic and nursing. And right now, some people are diving into being a nursing practitioner, which I found to be more interesting than just do like bedside nursing.
Wow, that is a lot of different opportunities there that you mentioned. I didn't even know about some of those. That's pretty amazing. Where do you see your trajectory going, Yukai?
Say that again.
Where do you see your trajectory going?
Nursing practitioner. Yeah, because right now I'm working on my BSM. Then after that, maybe I can do my master's, then go into NP. Because honestly, yeah, with the opportunities I have, I think I can go for NP in
Wow,
this coming year. Yes.
that's very exciting. And why would you want to go for an MP?
Well, I find myself wanting to explore more in the profession. And of course, it's all about career growth and just for a change for myself, because you see yourself like, I've been doing this for like a couple of years now. I have to move and pursue whatever I want to do right now. So I think that's it.
Well, that's very exciting. We wish you all the luck on that NP journey. That's very, very exciting.
Thank you.
So Stella, I want to turn to you. So you mentioned that you finished your staffing contract, and I think you mentioned that you became a travel nurse or you are a travel nurse. So what new opportunities have you discovered as an RN in the US? Can you talk a little bit more about your experience as a travel nurse? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Sorry, because of the baby.
No worries.
So I started my travel nursing in 2022 and stopped this year in January just because of the baby. But through travel nursing, I've discovered a lot of opportunities in the nursing field, including, of course, the travel nursing, which entails a lot of travel to different states, how different states do different things. I've also discovered different opportunities, like in terms of technology. Like there are places where we worked with robots, for example, like someplace in Washington. There's different career pathways that people can specialize into, like there's mental health, bedside nursing, psych, for example, forensic, as one of us mentioned. It's just very broad and there's no limit. Let me say that. Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting, I'm sure, for a lot of our audience to hear all the different opportunities that you've come across, and I'm sure that you will continue to come across. So thank you for sharing, Stella. So I did want to take a moment just to answer a couple of questions that I'm seeing in the chats. I'm seeing a couple of the same questions. So if you are an NCLEX passer, that is your golden ticket. That is how you get this process started. You know, all of these lovely ladies who passed the NCLEX, that's how they started their journey to come to the United States. Once you have passed the NCLEX, you can apply on our website, and we would love to help you reach your American dream. But that is really your golden ticket. So if you hadn't passed, please study up and take that NCLEX, and then you will be eligible to apply. I'm also seeing some questions about the H-1B. I know there's a lot of chatter. If you're online like I am, you've probably seen a lot of chatter on the H-1B. We are going to be addressing the H-1B on our next immigration show. So we're going to bring up our show schedule at the end of this show, and we will let you know when that next immigration show is going to be, and our expert attorneys will be taking your questions live. You can save those questions for then. Okay, so I want to turn and talk a little bit more about lifestyle, work-life balance, what it's like to be in the U.S. with your family. So Shivagani, I'd love to turn to you. What has life looked like for you outside of work in the U.S.? What's it been like for your family? Are you enjoying?
I am enjoying the USA. Because we work a 36-hour shift, which is called a full week in US scheduling. It gives us more time to like spend with the family and to go out and explore USA. And also, there's different types of jobs that you can apply for a full-time job where you work 3 days a week. You can apply for a part-time job whereby you work 2 days a week, and then you can apply for a PRN whereby you work two times a month. So that gives you the variety and flexibility that and the lifestyle in the USA, it's slightly different from back home, but the food is also different. But as you adjust, you tend to enjoy the lifestyle in USA.
That makes sense. I think even when I go back to even South Africa, I feel like the lifestyle in the USA, and I don't know if you will all agree, feels a little bit more fast paced than it does in a lot of probably your home countries. It's a little bit more, depends where you live, but I'm curious, Shivagani, has that been your experience? It's a little bit more fast paced?
It's more fast paced. And another thing, what I learned in the USA, like you have to be so careful with what you say because back at home in South Africa, we hug each other, we laugh with each other. But yeah, it's like you have to first like stand back and observe the individual because like if you hug somebody, it can be sort of you invading their space. Whereas back home, hugging is a norm.
Definitely different cultural norms.
Mhm.
That makes sense. I see Stella also nodding her head, Yukai nodding her head. So I think that's all just about the process of culturally assimilating, right? It's about learning what's different in your home country versus what's different here. And that's just another example of something that made you take a little pause and think, okay, well, this is something that we're going to learn a little bit different, but all a part of the journey. So, Corny, I'd love to hear a little bit more from you. How does your work schedule in America compare to your schedule at home, or even your schedule when you were doing your stopover in Abu Dhabi?
I really prefer how it's done here. I mean, it have a lot of flexibility. I've been working in Malaysia for a couple of years, and then I was in Abu Dhabi for good years. Most of the scheduling is not in your hand. You kind of like have to, do whatever schedule is put up for you, depending on the clinical need at that time. But here they practice self-scheduling, which is, I feel it's really something good that, because you can arrange your life and your family activity around that. And furthermore, for me, because my children are homeschooled, so that is a big plus for me, having a self-scheduling. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you can take your own schedule into your own hands and you can decide when is going to be the right time for you to work in any given week. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow. So that's a lot of flexibility and a lot of autonomy and independence that sounds like you didn't have in the other places. Very interesting. Okay. Thank you for sharing. So Yukai, I'd love to turn to you. How has moving to the US affected your family life? What are some things that you've really enjoyed about coming to the US?
Okay, well, the move brought about both substantial financial benefits and intense personal and emotional challenges. So I'll just divide them into positive and negative challenges. So the positive one was I could get to support my family back home, having opportunities for family immigration, and my husband joined me here this year. Also, I can say those are some of the goals attained and dreams achieved, and the chance to pursue my career. And also, I got a chance to drive one of my best cars and also start saving for my retirement. However, on the negative side, cultural and social adjustments like daily lives, customs, education for kids, like new schools and being homesick, has been kind of difficulty. Also, shifting family roles here is not like back home where school, the females have to do this, the males have to do this. So here you just have to meet halfway and help each other to do family roles every day. And also missing family events and even family milestones, difficulties in maintaining our relationships back home because of different time zones. Because where I come from in Zimbabwe, they are like 6 hours ahead of us. If it's summer, when it's winter, it's 7 hours ahead of us. So you see, if it's 6 p.m. here, it's already midnight there. So you basically have to wait on the next day, and maybe the next day you are tired, you want to rest, and they are experiencing day there. So the communication becomes a lot different, and you to like decrease. You just have like 2 or 3 chances to talk, but don't talk with like almost everyone. And sometimes it can bring strained marital relationships, which with extended separation and maybe even create like tension or insecurities in marriages before the spouse can come and join you here. And you can also like face work discrimination and racism in the workplace or even in the grocery stores or something like that. And having a different healthcare system has been a challenge for me because when I came here, almost everything seemed a lot different from where I came from. So I had to learn everything like during orientation. So it was a whole lot to grasp in a short period of time.
That is
Yeah.
a lot of stuff to have to handle and a lot
Yeah.
of stuff to get thrown your way.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about, I'm sure you've heard the term culture shock, which is, I can see a lot of you are going like this. It's, that feeling when you arrive in the US and you kind of feel like, oh gosh, I guess this is my life. And you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? It's a little scary. And this is what I wanted. And I worked so hard towards this. And now all of these different challenges are popping up and it can be really, really scary and really, really overwhelming. I can see Shogani is nodding her head. I'm sure all of you have experienced this in some way or another. I know I experienced it when I first moved here, and those are a lot of challenges to have to face as a new person moving here with or without your family. How did you overcome some of those challenges when you first arrived, Yukai?
So initially, OGP was calling us like once every week. So we had a clinical support specialist. She was calling me every week to see how I am going, how I'm adjusting. And there was a second lady who was calling me again, but this one was different. Now it was like the social part, the home stuff, like how are you maneuvering everything at home? And of course, I had the support of family and friends who are Zimbabweans here. And luckily, when I came here, I had some Zimbabweans who were living nearby, like on the same apartment, so they could come see how I am doing, how I am familiarizing with the place, and sometimes they would like take me to nearest grocery shops and just go like trips with me to like relax and some stuff. And of course, I had a pretty very nice preceptor who came from the Caribbean. So she made everything in the hospital setting look so much simple. At first, I thought she was coming from Africa, but because of the way she portrayed like the example, she's like, no, here we don't do this, like what you did back home. I only realized that she was from the Caribbean way after my orientation because she made me like I really belong to this place, and she made like everything seem so very easy for me.
Wow. So it sounds like having some community support, having
Yeah.
a really good preceptor that really
Yes.
helped you over that hump, or, really what are humps? Because there are days where everything's great, and then there are days where it probably you come into a challenge and it can feel really overwhelming. So that's amazing to hear that you had that support from your community. You had that support from OGP. You had that person calling you, your onboarding specialist checking in on you to make sure that you were okay. You had that support from your preceptor. So it sounds like you had a lot of support to help you through that challenging time, which I'm sure wasn't easy and I'm sure is ongoing. You know, there are times where I feel it still. Your life can change very, very much when you move to a new country, as I'm sure all of you ladies have learned, and you face different challenges every day. So Corny, I'd like to turn to you. How did you handle any cultural or communication challenges when you came to the US?
What I can see here, the biggest challenges for me is that, of course, losing the comfort that I'm used to. Like, people that used to support me in the clinical area, you don't have that completely. It's a completely different environment when I start my career here. And I mean, when I first start my clinical orientation in the unit at that time. So I quickly recognized that, here we heard the word autonomy many times, but here you experience it in the first hand. Like I want to bring up things like here, especially I work night shift, and this is really depend on different to facility. But where I see where I used to, where I work now, we don't have on-site provider most of the time. I mean, there is an on-site provider, but most of the patient will be covered by tele ICU. So, to communicate with tele ICU physician, you really need to use a lot of your assessment skill, your critical thinking, because they're really depending a lot on what you say, the information that you give them before you can make clinical decision on the care of the patient. So that's something that really shocked me at that time. Yeah, like, learning how to do that. And other thing also, like when I say that, you experience autonomy at first hand, here we do have patient who's going on comfort care, and though in orientation they say that this patient, when patient die, the nurses is going to be the one to call on the time of death and all this. But when I do it at clinical at that time, it really shocked me because I never pronounced somebody dead ever in my life, despite being a nurse this long time. Yeah.
So a lot of differences just in how you practice in
Yes.
your home country versus the United States, and kind of the shock of going through that. I'm sure it's a learning curve, right? To figure
Yes.
out how to be the best nurse possible and how to get up to standard with US practices. Did doing any of the trainings beforehand really help you with that, Connie?
Oh yeah, it does. It does. And also observing others how they do it, and being present in, most of the clinical situation will help you to see how people navigate such communication when they have to, when you have to go through it. And especially with the tele ICU, like I said, they're really depending a lot on your input before they can make a clinical decision on that patient. It's not just something that you reactive to say, when you call them in, you really have to think and come out with all this point before beforehand.
Well, that's very, very interesting. I'm sure there are a lot of nurses who are listening to all of you, hearing about your journeys, who are inspired, but also maybe a little bit nervous hearing about the challenges, because they are very real. And we want to be, transparent, because I think if you know what to expect, you can know how to best prepare. So, Stella, I'd love to turn to you. What advice would you have for the international nurses? I think you've been here the longest out of our group. What advice would you have for any international nurses about preparing for challenges of coming to the United States?
So be patient with yourself. The first few months might be the toughest, the time when you get the most challenges, but don't be afraid to ask. Connect a network of community with you. Communicate with OGP or the agency. whenever you're facing challenges so that you're not facing them alone. They will help you through the process. They have had tons and tons of nurses go through the process, and the challenges are almost always the same throughout with everybody who's been here as an international RN. Um, connect with your colleagues, create a team that you can always rely on when you're going through challenges in the hospital. Keep keep planning, and remember why you chose coming to US and coming to and doing nursing to begin with.
I think that's really good, solid advice, Stella, for anybody who is thinking about going on this journey, because it may not be a short journey. So having patience during that time and continuing to remember why you're on the journey is so important. So thank you for sharing. I see we have a lot of questions about pay in the chat. I did just want to note that the salaries that I had brought up were just averages. Your pay is going to vary depending on location, depending on experience, depending on specialty. So there are a lot of different factors that are going to be taken into account to figure out your pay. And if you do receive an offer from us, your recruiter will be able to go through that in detail with you, and will be able to go through what we cover, what we support you with, all of these things that I know a lot of you might be very curious about. So just to answer some of those questions in the chat. So I know that we are almost at the hour. I wanted to save a few minutes just to talk about the future of nursing in the United States, and as a career in the United States. So let's turn to Shivagani. Can you tell us what really excites you the most about your future as a nurse here?
I've just completed my assignment, my 2-year assignment. I completed my assignment in the middle of September. So I am excited because now in the UK, in the USA hospitals, you get paid a thousand rand bonus for every certificate you obtain. So I am so excited because I am now ready to go out and explore the different career opportunities in USA. I also plan to do my master's in nursing while I'm here in the USA, and also there's different job opportunities, as I've said before, like LVAD. We nurse LVAD patients. In other countries, there's no LVAD patients. So, and there's so much other different technologies that we are using here. So career-wise, I am excited. Like also, we can do nurse practitioner. We can we can go into oncology. The profession is very flexible in the USA.
Well, congratulations to you. That's very exciting to have completed your contract and be able to plan for what your career is going to look like. It sounds like you have a lot of opportunities. So that is very, very exciting. Yukai, I'd love to turn to you. Why do you believe nursing will continue to be one of the best careers in the US?
Well, in my opinion, I think because of the high demand and job stability, which is driven by the aging population and the growing healthcare industry, and the offering of competitive salaries and benefits. And we also have like retiring workforce who are creating new openings for new nurses to be enrolled. Also, a wide variety of specializations and work settings, and the unique opportunity for personal and professional growth, and the deep satisfaction of helping others, just career flexibility, and the diversity it comes with, like hospitals. You can be a hospital nurse, you can be a university nurse, you can be a school nurse, you can be a military nurse, and you can also work in community clinics. And there are those, like Shivagani said, are specialty options to like avoid burnouts and the chance of continued learning.
I think that really hits the nail on the head. You really summed it up very well. I think there are a lot of opportunities for nurses all across the United States in different specialties, in different areas, different roles, different specializations. And it's only growing, and the need is only growing. The demand is there. So thank you for sharing those thoughts, Yuvakai. So Corny, I'd love to turn to you. What advice do you have for nurses overseas who are considering a career in the United States?
I think my advice will be like, aim high and prepare for it. I mean, because it is a journey itself. I mean, start by getting your NCLEX, getting all your credential evaluated. And then for me, I have a good experience and tremendous journey through OGP. Like again, I say it's a process, but being in a close contact, touch base most of the time with the OGP personnel make it a little bit easier for me. I will say that, even though the process will take long, don't give up, because, you have to take things one day at a time, because, again, process is a process. There's nothing else you can do. Just understand it is the way it is. Yeah. That's all I was saying.
I really like that, Corny. Aim high and prepare. I think I'm going to use that for my life. I think that's a really wise thing to say. Aim high and prepare. As you've all shown us, the sky's the limit with nursing in the United States. There are so many different opportunities, so many different roles. But I think you said something very wise in that it's a journey. And it's a journey not only to come here, but also once you're here. We talked about the different challenges, getting used to what it's like to work in the United States. And it's a journey. It's a journey of being an RN, coming from a different country, coming to the United States. But it sounds like it's been a worthwhile journey for all of you. And such an exciting journey to hear about where you're all planning on going. Sounds like, really the world is your oyster. You have so many different opportunities to take advantage of, both financially, personally. I love seeing little Gabriella on Stella's lap to see an American citizen. When I had my first baby here and I had an American citizen, it was such an exciting moment. It's really full circle. It's like, wow, I did it. So thank you all for being here today, for sharing what it's like to work in the United States as an RN, and why you all continue to go down this path, and why you think it was a worthwhile journey. You were very inspiring, and I think our audience really appreciates it. So if you were inspired by any of these lovely ladies today and you would like to apply to AMN Healthcare, we are the largest provider of both international direct hire and international staffing opportunities, and those opportunities are constantly changing. You can apply on our website, amnhealthcare.com/international, and our recruiters are on hand, ready and waiting to help you with your applications. Thank you, ladies, for all being on here today and for sharing your journeys. I really appreciate it, and it was so nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you missed our exciting announcement at the top of the show, we have a new referral program I wanted to remind everybody of before you go. We have a refer a nurse and earn $1,000. So if you would like to refer, you can refer as many nurses as you would like to come to our international staffing arm, OGP. These nurses must have passed the NCLEX. They must be citizens of Canada or Mexico, so eligible for the TN visa, or they must have an EB3 priority date from October 2023 or prior. We are going to put the link in the chat. You can register at the link. You will get your own personal link that you can send out to any referrals, and you can start racking up that money. This is free money, everybody. So if you have any nurses who are interested in coming to the United States, like any of our lovely ladies today through OGP, please feel free to apply and get your own personalized referral link, and we will happily accept your referrals. Let's bring up our show schedule for the rest of the month. So we have our upcoming Onwards and Upwards shows, which are at 7 a.m. California time. On October 10th, we're going to be doing our immigration Q&A. I saw a lot of questions about the H-1B. We are going to be taking your questions live with our immigration expert attorneys, and they are going to be answering all of your questions about that H-1B. Hopefully we'll have more information by then. We also have another Onwards and Upwards show on October 24th, so make sure to tune in. We have our AMN Academy shows, which are on Mondays at 6 a.m. California time with our partner 9.09er, and our new show on the fourth Monday of every month, Dream Jobs with Deirdre. So we're going to be sharing all of the information about current employers who are hiring and sharing that information with you. We also have our podcast episode for the week. So that is renting an apartment in the United States. So please make sure to check that out. I know this is something that's very exciting, but there are a lot of nuances to it. So you want to make sure that you are checking it out. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I saw a lot of comments saying thank you, thank you. We had a really great group of ladies today. And I hope that it goes to show to all of you who may be considering a career in the United States that there is a huge demand for international nurses and there is huge opportunity. You know, as Corny said, aim high and prepare. The world is your oyster. We are here and we are excited to welcome you to the United States. So please apply on our website. That's amnhealthcare.com/international. And our recruiters will help you process your application and get you started on your US journey. Thank you all for joining us today. Until next time, onwards and upwards. Bye, everybody.